for the game that you called, Cowboys-Jets, are we sitting in a situation now where Dak Prescott is a MVP front-runner guy at this point?
Oh, he's front runner, probably debatable. Is he in the conversation? Without question. He's in the 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I mean, think about what he did yesterday. Okay, now I understand the Jets have not been good and they've yet to win. Defensively, they're not bad, right? Like defensively, that is not a historically bad defense or at the bottom of, they're at the bottom of some categories, but they're not like, you don't go into that game saying, oh my God, the Jets are horrible. The Dallas's defense was 32nd in the league. They were historically bad in a lot of categories. And Dak went into that game on the road with the worst defense in football, albeit played very well against the Jets, but that's a different conversation. Worst defense in the league through 4 weeks, statistically, missing 4 starting offensive linemen. So, I mean, Taylor, we can't find 5 linemen on a lot of teams, right, let alone 9. So he went into that game with Terrence Steele and backup left tackle, left guard, center, right guard. Tyler Smith was the only other starting lineman in uniform. He did not play a snap. He was like an emergency dealing with an injury. He went into that game without CeeDee Lamb, 4 starting offensive linemen, and the worst defense in football. And it was 30-3 in the fourth quarter. And it ended up being like 37-22, or it ended up getting some garbage time points. The game was never in question. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And, what he did against Green Bay the week before where they tied in overtime, like what he did coming back to win against the Giants at home when they had to score 40 to win because Russell Wilson went off. Like he's done it almost every single game and everything around him's not been perfect.
Yeah. And just bringing up the offensive lineman, like you keep maybe 9 guys on there. And so you're bringing guys off of practice squad, plucking guys from other teams as well, putting them in uniform the week before and being like, hey, you guys got to figure it out in case you have a situation where one of these other guys go down. So it's a very fragile position to be in, especially in your quarterback to play that well. I'm blown away by him. I'm very impressed by Schottenheimer up to this point in the season because you're right. Their defense, I mean, statistically are bad. A lot of times people can say, well, statistically they're bad, but X, Y, and Z. There's no but. Like the Cowboys defense is actually just bad. You put on the film and it seems not competitive at some points when you watch a Giants film. And then you have them go against the Packers who are just studs. End up, Dak plays them into a tie there. I worry about the Cowboys because if Dak has an off day, they will lose. That is just how it is going to go for them. And that inevitably will happen through the drag of this season being in, only the second week of October.
Yeah, you're not going to score 37 a game.
Right.
Right. Like, I think they came into the game averaging like 28, 29, something like that. They scored 37. They scored 40 when they tied. They scored 40 when they tied 40. Green Bay. So like, you're not really the only game they didn't particularly score a lot of points was the Chicago game. So the one thing I will say, yes, you're not going to score 30 plus every single game. There will be some games where they're going to have to, score in the low 20s. There might be a game where they score 17. That, can they win those games? Probably at this point, probably not. I will say the defense was significantly better yesterday. I think the more Diggs and Bland continue to get their legs under them. Remember, they're paying 2 big-time former All-Pro, both their corners paying top money. Both have battled injuries, lower body injuries, takes a toll at the cornerback position. Playing a lot more zone with Eberflus, so they're not really playing to their strengths in man coverage. They're starting to sprinkle in a little bit more man. They lose Micah Parsons. They lose DeMarcus Lawrence. So you start looking at some of the defensive transitions. They're not going to be a top 5 defense. They're not going to be a top 10 defense. But can they be a middle of the road average defense? And now all of a sudden, can they start winning games 24-21, 27-24? Yeah, I think that's probably the most likely scenario. When CeeDee Lamb comes back and Kevontae Turpin comes back and they're not out 4 starting offensive linemen and George Pickens is coming to life and Dak, Javonte Williams, the running back, is a stud. Like,
yeah, he's been playing well.
I just see their offense getting healthier and getting better.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
Fair. Very fair.
Defense have to get a lot better.
It's good that they're sprinkling more man because they're at like 96% zone at one point. And you're right. Like those 2 corners do great in man coverage. Like why? And you're not disguising your coverage.
It's just a bad allocation of resources, right? You're paying 2 top tier corners, granted coming off injury, which I'm sure is part of Eberflus's plan of like, all right, let's not expose them. Lance had the foot. Obviously, Diggs has had a couple lower bodies back to back. So like, I understand that, but we talked about this yesterday on the broadcast, and like, here's the disconnect that a lot of teams have in their approach connecting their defense to their offense. I'm a believer that I need to build my defense to mirror the strengths of my offense, right? So for years under McCarthy, with last year being the exception, there were a 30-point offense year leading the league in points, 22, 23 around then. I don't need to stop the run. I don't need a lot of big bodies. I need pass rushers and I need defensive backs because we're going to play nickel personnel and we're going to play the pass virtually the entire game. Because every time you try to run the ball at me and I'm scoring 30, I don't give a shit if you run for 200 yards. You're not going to beat me, right? You're not going to have enough possessions to score 30 a game unless I just give it to you. Last year, Dak gets hurt, offense goes to the bottom of the league, and all of a sudden the warts of the defense, yes, Micah Parsons is not nearly as effective if he's not rushing the passer and so on and so forth. The defensive backs are not, granted they were hurt, they're not nearly as impactful if you're not throwing the ball 35 times a game. End of the game, you're trying to play catch up and you're throwing pick sixes to Bland and Diggs. That's what they were built. Last year, the offense falls apart and the defense gets exposed. They overcorrect on defense, right? They're saying, we don't need Micah Parsons. We need to get better at stopping the run. And now I ask, who cares how good you are stopping the run? If your offense is going to score 30 a game, you better defend the pass. You better rush the passer and you better play defense in the back end because that's what teams are going to have to do to chase your points. So they're a little misaligned in their approach. If they can get the defense rushing the passer like they did yesterday more consistently, it will go a long way.
And like you said too, like sprinkling and playing more man, playing to the strengths of the corners that you did pay, because again, when their offense was high flying and their defense was kind of complimenting them, they were very good in the turnover category, creating takeaways, getting picks, like you said, sacks. But yeah, you're right there.
Yeah, everything you just said reminded me of the old Colts with Peyton Manning. Like you have a defense that's built to play against the pass, and you have Peyton Manning who's going to put up 30 plus a game. And so, yeah. I fully agree.
Yeah, so we're going to sit in cover 2, and Bob Sanders is going to run around the back end. And if you want to run against our soft boxes all day and you think you're going to keep pace with Peyton Manning, knock yourself out.
Yeah, go for it. Have fun with that.
And, he gets forgotten, but Pat Anger, middle linebacker, undersized, put his face on people.
It's always about the linebacker.
It always is, dude.
Greg's like,
it
always
Anger,
is.
Luke Kuechly would know about Pat Anger.